People are mad, disgusted, outraged, anxious, afraid, tense, and apprehensive now over this incident, which combined with the personal, health, and economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic has evolved into a deadly, combustible storm of anger and reckless behavior and action across the country. While I understand the anger, the behavior is illegal, unacceptable, and creates more unfavorable interactions with law enforcement and takes the focus from where it needs to be, justice. We do not believe that violence and the destruction of property are legitimate acts of protest. As a black man who has had negative encounters with rogue police officers, I also join those mothers, fathers, grandparents, and children who are afraid of encountering the police. But we have watched as people of all races and creeds, of all stations and positions of life, denounce this horrific deed for what it is, a horrendous act by someone who swore to serve and protect. I have been contacted by many Savannahans, both white and black, in universal sentiment and solidarity that this is a pattern that must be immediately addressed. The vast majority of police officers, as I once did, as Alderman Palumbo once did, and as Alderman Purdy does now, just want to go home to their families and loved ones at the end of their shift. They take on an extraordinary, thankless job, working long hours and doing the very best that they can. There are a few who tarnish and erode the hard-earned respect and reputation of the many. I reaffirm our commitment to you that the City of Savannah and the Savannah Police Department remain committed to courtesy, professionalism, and respect, regardless of color, age, race, sexual orientation, economic status, or disability. Our officers are well-trained, and they uphold the highest standards of certification and credentialing. If they cannot live up to their oath, they should not be police officers in our city. And as the Chief Mentor knows, we've discussed, we should immediately help them to be successful somewhere else. And it just dawned on me that also Alderwoman Wilder Bryan has also served as a law enforcement officer. So we get it, we understand it, and we know that all law enforcement officers are not bad. We understand or have been informed informally that there is a rally or march planned tomorrow in downtown Savannah. We further understand that often these rallies and marches are planned and organized by someone who does not live in the city that the rally or protest is planned in. Be very clear. We know who you are. And please let me make myself absolutely clear. We will not let you or anyone else come here and trash our city. We are not having it here. This is where we live. This is where we work. This is where we play. This is where we raise our families. We are surviving COVID-19. And if we can survive COVID-19, there's no way we're going to let folks from outside of our community come and trash our community. We're not having it. We, the good people of of Georgia's mother city, Savannah, say universally And collectively, that is not happening here. It's not acceptable here, and it will be advisable for you to find somewhere else to do your illegal activities. To those who are coming here to create chaos, please know that in a city of welcoming beings, you are not welcome here. We will use this march to continue dialogue with our local law enforcement agencies, and we will continue our dialogue with our chief to let him know that we do not expect to have an incident such as the Floyd case happening here in Savannah. And if it does, that we will act quickly and decisively. To the residents of Savannah, Chatham County, and surrounding areas who intend on attending the rally tomorrow in support of George Floyd, I'd like to welcome you to Savannah to participate in this peaceful protest, which I will be attending along with members of our community, members of our council. Please note, there is no need to bring milk. Milk is only good in cereal or any other offensive objects, as this protest and march will be peaceful. I have asked our local faith community and community leaders to join me in Johnson Square as we march to honor the life of George Floyd and the lives of those across the country who have been victims of police brutality. I am asking our faith institutions to lead our community in corporate prayer specifically for this situation and specifically for our city at this very critical time. I want us to remain focused on the reason why we're marching and the reason why we are gathering. Please do not be distracted by those who are attending this event for the wrong reasons. If you see someone there attempting to cause violence or create disruption, please do not join them. Please do not let your behavior betray your purpose. Please do not let your behavior betray your purpose. Remember why you say you are there. We want Savannah to set the standard on how a protest should occur, recognizing and appreciating an American's right to peacefully assemble and what can be accomplished. So please, attend with comfortable shoes, water, and signs. This afternoon, I spoke with Governor Brian Kemp, who has offered his assistance and the full support of the state of Georgia. I genuinely appreciated his call and his offer of help should we need it. I have also asked the city attorney to prepare an emergency order instituting a curfew for the city of Savannah, and I am fully prepared to sign it the moment things get out of hand. I am also fully cognizant that tomorrow on the Christian calendar represents the day of Pentecost, the seventh Sunday, the 49th day after Easter Sunday. But the thing interesting about that is it says in the book of Acts that they were all on one accord in one place. So tomorrow, on the day of Pentecost, on the seventh Sunday, on the 49th day after Easter Sunday, I expect that we will all be on one accord, in one place, speaking the same language, that we want justice for George Floyd, and we want justice for anyone who seeks it, and justice for anyone who needs it. We have been, we are striving to be, and we will continue to be one community. We continue to be, and we strive to be a strong community. We are all Savannah, and we are Savannah strong. That ends my prepared comments, and if there are any comments for myself, anyone up here to include our city manager, city attorney, or our chiefs, please let us know at this time.
Mr. Mayor.
Was the,
Oh, okay. So there There were some social media posts going around talking about this march possibly being illegitimate, and that the person who organized it did not reach out to leaders in the black community. Do you know anything of that?
Yeah, it was quite interesting, of course. I did my personal research. Law enforcement did their research, and it appeared that the individual organizing the Black Lives Matter is a white gentleman who is not even affiliated with Black Lives Matter. And we understand from people that have contacted me that this is not an authorized event of Black Lives Matter.
And do you know what kind of route it's taking or anything other than it's starting at Johnson Square?
I do not, but again, I think it's a good day for us to get together and be together. So I'm asking the people of goodwill of Savannah just to come together and join us. It's been a while since we've been together. And so I think it's good for Savannah to come together. Before I came here, I was listening to reports of riots and police in Chicago between protesters and police. Again, as a hosted city of the South, we can show people how to do things better. People are outraged, people are upset. We get it, we understand it. But I think we have the way to be able to say that we can stand in solidarity, but yet not damage property. It makes no sense to me that you can live in a community and then mess up your own community. Even dogs don't mess up where they lay their head. And so to me, it's crazy to think that Savannahans would turn around and try to destroy Savannah. And this will not be an excuse for them to do that. We will celebrate Savannah. We will continue to grow as a community. We know we don't always get it right, and I'll be the first to admit it. But I will tell you that you have people that are committed, not only on your council, but of our city team that's committed to working every day to get it right.
We also heard there was, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, ladies.
We heard there was another organized event happening in Jackson Park. Is that something you guys have heard about as well?
I'm not familiar.
All right. Obviously, right now it's a difficult time to be organizing any kind of gathering. Are there any kind of steps you have planned to ensure social distancing or mask wearing or anything like that at the demonstration?
I have my mask. They have their mask. We're asking people, again, in the midst of what's going on, we are still in the middle of a pandemic. We recognize that. I'll be social distancing. I'm encouraging our community that if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. And so we're asking people to exercise the same health provisions, being careful about how close they come in contact with people, proper sanitization of hands and surfaces, the use of joint materials, and also the use of face coverings.
You mentioned people could leave their milk at home. I mean, is there discussion on how we're going to police this event and kind of what happens in terms of the response for an event like this?
I would tell you, and the chiefs can chime in if they want to, that I think that I'm proud of our emergency and safety-sensitive personnel, our police and our fire. We're on it. We're prepared. I don't want them, and I don't think it's appropriate to discuss anything tactical, but I'll just say that I believe that they are well prepared to address those matters. But my thing was, if it was a peaceful event, why are you asking people to bring milk? I mean, I didn't think we were going to be sitting down, eating Cheerios together. To me, that puts in mind this is anticipation of something happening. If we're not expecting something, then why ask people to bring milk? And again, look at who did the post, someone who doesn't live here, someone who's not affiliated with here, and fraudulently put that out there. Again, we're not going to let people from outside of Savannah destroy Savannah. Nick, I'm sorry.
Can we touch a base on a little bit of the rights of the people in the streets? I mean, what do you want them to know? What's your message to them who are going to be coming out and practicing their freedom of speech?
Well, again, the city of Savannah recognizes, as a city that has been here for quite some time, the peaceful ability of citizens to get together and protest. It does not say that you can't in the middle of a pandemic. People have the right to do that. We fully support that right. We can insist that is done peaceably. We can assist that is done in order, and we can assist that is done within the confines of the law. So as people do that, we expect that people will, and we welcome them to do so. While they're here, we want them to support some of our businesses that are a part of our Savannah Safe initiative. We want them to do that. But what we're saying here is that we want them to do it safely. And again, we could protest, we can get our point across, and then we can go about our separate ways and work for justice wherever we go. Yes, sir.
What would be the tipping point for you to decide to institute the curfew? Or, I mean, I'm sure any number of scenarios, but what would you consider to be like, okay, now this is the point where we need to step in?
I think the general statement will be when things appear to be getting out of control. The more direct statement would be under the advice of the city manager and my chief of fire, my chief of police, emergency management personnel. There is a line, and if that line is approached, we'll warn. If it's crossed, we'll implement it, and we will clear these streets.
You mentioned you spoke with Governor Kemp this morning. What were some of the offers of help that he provided?
It was this afternoon, and he called and told me that what he understood was to occur here. He also expressed his disappointment about what happened in Atlanta, as we all were. We were watching in horror. And certainly, I mean, for you all as journalists and media personnel, just to watch, and then you're doing your job, and yet you're being victimized. So he expressed his concern about that, and again, expressed his offer, indicated that he had resources that I won't specify at this point ready to use as we need them, and just appreciated our work in this regard. I indicated to him, again, I appreciated him calling. He did not have to do so, but he did, and I appreciated his offer, and I would pass that on to our personnel as well.
Mayor, you obviously have an HR background. In all of this, I mean, what do you want people to know? I mean, there's all of these emotions. You mentioned so many of them. How do we engage with those emotions, feel these things, but also get them out and express where we need to be?
Well, I think the first thing is to acknowledge that the feelings exist. I mean, I think we cannot belabor the point that we are living in extraordinary times. We cannot make little of the point that people are frustrated. I mean, we've been enduring now well over 80 days of a pandemic in which people have been cooped up in their houses, people have lost their jobs, people have been furloughed, people have lost income, people have been sick, people have been going through hell. And the usual ways that we express that through our religious institutions, through social activities, have been cut off for us. So we have been literally caged, and people are just tied on that end. Then you have this situation occur. You have the situation that occurred in Glenn County. You have the situation that occurred in Minneapolis. And for me, the most gratifying part is that this has become bigger, finally, than a black issue. Because the video told the story. And if you didn't have a heart in your chest, you could not feel to see this man handcuffed, laying down on his stomach with an officer with his knee on his neck, with his hands in his pocket, and you see other officers sitting around watching and doing nothing. People understood the rage. People understood the plight of that family. And I know myself, and I know some of my colleagues as law enforcement, and Alderman Leggett as a healthcare professional. I mean, we felt that because we knew that incident makes it hard for police officers everywhere. It tarnishes their reputation everywhere. We all know, and I know our police department preaches and teaches, if you have control of somebody in your use of force continuum, then why are you applying pressure? He's down. He's compliant. He's not going anywhere. yet you're applying pressure to him. And he's saying, I can't breathe. So it tears our very moral fabric. And for years, I mean, these things happen and we've been able in some way to dismiss them as coincidences. And I don't want to be long-winded about it, but I just, it's hard. When we have planes go down, and it's the same plane, and the plane keeps going down, we pull all the planes off the line because there's something wrong with that plane. If you have unarmed black men that are being killed, violation of civil rights, unauthorized procedures across the country, there is something wrong with that. And we're at a point now where not only in Savannah, but across America, people are saying something is wrong. We have police chiefs saying something is wrong. And so, I mean, if this is a galvanizing moment in our community, it creates opportunities, and I'll be talking to the chief about an opportunity in our community to really have these courageous conversations about interactions between police and the minority communities. If we know what's wrong, then let's fix it. And so that's what the frustration is all about. But here in Savannah, we know better, because the fact of the matter is, if I don't have a suit on, if Alderman Leggett doesn't have a suit on, if Chief Minter doesn't have a suit on, we're black men. And I've had my moments with police officers that didn't know who I was and did not care. And I had to be very, very careful about how I acted and how I reacted, because I didn't want to do anything to put myself in a situation in which it escalated and forced an officer to escalate. He's trying to go home, and so am I. I'm sorry for rambling, but...
Now, real quick, I know tomorrow's supposed to be a peaceful protest. Is there, might be a question for the fire chief or Chief Minter, are we going to have extra officers or increased presence just in case, anything were to happen?
We'll be prepared. I mean, I think that's adequate. Again, we have among the finest public safety professionals in the country. We do stuff. We do hurricanes, we've done Olympics, we've done G9, G8, we've done large-scale events with international emphasis. They have evaluated and worked throughout the end of yesterday and throughout today, putting into place plans that have been previously discussed and contrived. And I will just say that our intention is to protect our community, protect our residents, protect our businesses. And we're well and full prepared to do that. I don't know if you all want to add to that, but I'm good? Okay.
Those preparations for tomorrow at 2 o'clock, that's all well and good. If all these hooligans are coming in from out of the state or wherever, is there a chance that they might say, okay, we're going to lay low until this nice community gathering dissipates, and then after that, I mean, or do you have any kind of contingency plan?
Our community is prepared. I just said that the march was at 2 o'clock.
I don't know if somebody asked this. Do we know where we're marching, or is it just going to be meet at Johnson Square?
I understand it's from Johnson Square to Ellis Square? The City Hall? Okay, yeah. So.
Have you guys made attempts to reach out to the person who organized this event too? Did you mention that?
I understood there have been attempts, and I understand they've been unsuccessful. Legitimate people do legitimate things. And we have enough peaceful protests out here that we're full aware of in an attempt to be able to protect them as well. Again, we respect people's right to protest. The city manager, you have anything? This attorney? Chiefs? Any aldermen want to say anything? Okay. So, Alderman Leggett welcomes everyone to the 2nd District. And he wants to ensure the 2nd District will be safe, as I recognize the city of Savannah. And we receive calls from all over. People, they're concerned. They're worried, they're scared, they watch TV, they see what's going on. Again, Savannah has been known for better. Savannah did not burn when General Sherman came through. Savannah did not burn during the Civil Rights Movement. Savannah survived the flu pandemic of 1918. We survived the Great Depression. We're going to make it through COVID-19, and we're going to make it through this. But we want to be that city sitting on the top of the hill to show cities how to do it. And it has to be more than just the moment of a protest. It has to be the movement of what occurs after the protest. And so for us, we'll be creating an opportunity for our community to really have some courageous discussions that our law enforcement officers need to hear, and need to hear in a very constructive way. And from that, as a community, as a beloved community, we will come up with an action plan for our community about how we address those things. And I'll be more than glad to say that we are still recruiting for police officers. If you don't like what's going on, do like I did, become a police officer. That's how we change what's happening. You get there, you press yourself into service, you put on a uniform and become a police officer, you put on a uniform and become a firefighter, you raise your hand and take the oath, and you serve your community. That's how we make things better. And then when you're faced with those situations, you remember what you hated about that Floyd situation, and you treat people better. That's how we do it. Anything else? Well, I appreciate you. Again, I'm sorry for calling you here, but I just think that we had to make sure that people were very clear that Savannah is not the place for anarchists, it's not the place for rioters, and so for those that might be traveling here, they need to pass us by and go somewhere else. We're not having it. Thank you. Alderman, thank you. Alderman, thank you. Chief, City Manager, City Attorney, thank you. Thank you.
All right, there we just heard from Savannah Mayor Van Johnson addressing a march that was planned for tomorrow at 2 p.m. in Johnson Square, marching to City Hall. That is still on. But essentially what we saw the mayor do there was take control of a march that had some questions surrounding it. He said during the news conference there that the march was not an event that had been authorized or planned by Black Lives Matter here in Savannah. It had been advertised as a march planned by Black Lives Matter. He said that as we watch the outrage bubble over or boil over in cities across the country, he said he understands the outrage. Certainly as a black man, he understands the outrage. He said, however, buildings being burned, destruction of property will not happen here in Savannah. He addressed the fact that in many of these cities they have seen people coming from outside of the city to do damage in a city where they don't live. To those people, he said, we know who you are. We're not having it here. Find somewhere else to do your illegal activity. I want to address real quick what I meant by him taking control of this march tomorrow that had some questions around it, essentially by saying he would be there, other city leaders would be there. He invited the community to come. He said, don't bring any milk. We know that people who have been pepper sprayed in other cities, you use milk to heal your burning eyes, to take the burning sensation. He says he does not expect any of that to happen in Savannah tomorrow because there will be no violence, according to him. He says the city, however, is prepared to act if things get out of hand, if there are people who show up who have illegal intentions to incite violence. He said the police department is ready. He said he also had the city attorney draft an emergency order that includes a citywide curfew. He is prepared to put that into effect tomorrow if the march from Johnson Square to City Hall gets out of hand. So that is the message this evening from Mayor Van Johnson in Savannah. We will certainly have more on what he said during this press conference coming up at 6 o'clock and again tonight at 11. I'm Edward Moody. Thank you for joining us here at WSAV News 3 for this special report.